Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we will begin with approval of the agenda.
Madam President, I move we approve the agenda with the following amendments. 1, add item number F-3, additional certified and classified actions for consideration. 2, add item number C-2, Charles Stone Intermediate Center News Broadcast. 3, add item number E-5-B, long-term substitute benefits. 4, add item number K-2, executive session. 5, add item number E-1, minutes of the December 1st, 2022 special meeting.
So second.
I'll second.
Use number look if you need to. Okay, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. And we will move on to the Kansas Can Awards. I don't think we have any counselors here, but I wanted to just explain that ASDE has decided that it would be nice to kind of promote some of the things that they're requiring the schools to do as part of their KISA accreditation cycle. So they've given us little star or awards, like a teacher might give the student, I guess. So, but we received an award for social emotional growth. So as a district, so that is one of the awards, and I do have one of those for counselors. We can share those out. The next one is individual plan of study, and this is the copper recognition, and it will go to each of our middle schools and the high school. So they're actually here. So yeah, those out. And I'm going to let Mr. Nordby talk a little bit about the individual plan of study rubric because he was the chair of that rubric.
Okay, yeah, and we've been talking about this for the last couple of presentations. The high school has been done. We thought that we had done enough to earn this recognition. And the individual plan of study recognition, only 11 schools in the state got that last year because it's a pretty rigorous rubric to go through. We have to prove that doing what we do for career exploration, setting our kids up for post-secondary success is ingrained through our curriculum, that we're including parents with things like our FAFSA nights and things like that. And so it does take a lot of evidence. And so I got together and led a group this last spring with counselors and principals and folks like that from each of our schools, Achieve, the middle schools, Garden City High School, and we kind of broke the rubric into pieces, gathered all the data we could, and I got to hit submit, and we were very hopeful. We thought we'd earned it, so it's awful nice to be able to get this. I'm not sure how many districts got this for this coming year. They haven't totally released that whole list, but it's such a small list having done it in the past. It's awful nice to get that recognition that what we're doing is the way that the state wants us to be doing it. So.
And the next one is the Civic Engagement Award. Brandy was here a few weeks ago and received the recognition for her building. Hers is one of 4 buildings. So we have Edith Sherman, we have the high school, and we have Florence Wilson and Bernadine Sitz. So 4 of our schools have earned the Copper Star recognition for civic engagement. This is you can apply if you want to type of program. So I'm really encouraging principals to apply this next year because our buildings do so much with the community you know, in the form of other civic engagements, things for Emmaus House or Stockings for Soldiers, types of things going on right now that I think they could all apply. And so I'm trying to encourage that. So maybe we'll have a few more next year. Did you want to say anything about that program as well?
Well, the Civic Advocacy Network is important to us at Garden City High School as we try to produce the next generation of community leaders. We want to try to get our kids out as much as we can, develop those community connections, and then whether it's helping with elections, we had some kids leave school and help check people in for voting this year. And, you know, the more we can get them out to do that and to develop those connections, the more that they might be more likely to be involved in that group and to lead those things when they're older. So, you know, we think that's all part of the post-secondary success, and it all goes together.
So there are 4 areas that you can apply to receive a star in. The other one is ASQ, the Ages and Stages Questionnaire for Kindergarten Readiness. As you know, you recently approved a new behavior scale for our littles, and that will help us go a long way toward applying for this next year. But because of our past practices with the littles, we did not qualify for that award this year. But I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that we'll have 4 of these next year for you. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. What an honor. Okay, next up, we have building presentation from Charles Stone's Intermediate Center.
Yeah, you don't want me to touch any technology related. What's coming up? Why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hi, we're from Charles O. Stone's. We're in student council. My name is Aria Cortez.
I'm Jasmine Rivera, and I'm Ava Garcia.
CSIC News broadcast brought to you by the CSIC student council members. Current events: turkey giveaway. Ms. Stuckey organizes a food drive and asks for donations in order to give out Thanksgiving meals to CSIC students. Every year, one student from each homeroom receives a turkey dinner thanks to Ms. Stuckey's hard work and dedication. Student council elections. Elections for student council president, vice president, secretary, and executive committee were held recently. The newly elected members are Aria Cortez, president, Aaron Gonzalez, vice president, Ava Garcia, secretary, Harvick Sowers, Tegan Tabor, Thiago Ortiz as executive committee. Disguise a Turkey. The first annual Disguise a Turkey contest was held at CSIC the week prior to Thanksgiving. We had 50 entries with disguises ranging from a candy corn to Santa Claus. Students were able to vote on the best disguise and the winner received a prize.
Upcoming events: band concert December 6th at 6 p.m. PTO meeting December 15th at 5:45 p.m. STEAM parent engagement night December 15th at 6 p.m. PE. During PE classes, students are participating in cooking, bowling, turkey bingo, table tennis, badminton, hockey, club cycling, and basketball. Science. 5th grade was introduced to the many ways that the agriculture affects our lives. 6th graders participating in the sexual risk avoidance classes. Reading. Students are participating in the Million-Minute Reading Challenge via the Beanstalk app. Students win prizes for the number of minutes they read each week.
Goal. 6th grade is so close to making their originally wildly important goal that we are adding on a part 2 to our 6th grade wildly important goal.
Award. Ricardo A. won the regional Put the Brakes on the Fatalities CrossFit contest. His prize was a brand new bike. CSIC, our wolf pack is where it is at.
There's a lot happening at CSIC every day. Feel free to join us and see all the great things.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
They should win a prize for speed reading. Thank you, lady.
Did you guys put that slideshow together? Yeah.
They gave us input and we worked on it together. So it was the student council kids who came up with the ideas.
You guys want to come down and shake our hands?
No.
Good job. 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 Thank you for tonight.
Good job.
Good job. Thank you for coming.
To talk too, so.
Yeah.
I know. We're gonna take a picture of your. Here, give me the paper.
Here, you get it.
Oh, okay.
No, take a picture.
Right here, I guess. And we have to shout out to Miss Schmidt. She came to support us as well as Miss Carr too.
The kids.
Might have to
Here, girls,
get
get-
students in front.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, my, there.
Wait, which one?
Good job.
I tried to. Taking your time out and coming down here tonight. Thank you, parents.
Thanks, students and parents.
They're right. Here, I'll take it back to school. I'll take it back to school.
I know.
Went so quick.
Any correspondence?
Linda, you may have to give them an award for the fastest.
I know.
Not that we want them to be fast, but I'm just saying they were very fast.
Ready with more questions, but I'll just have to,
Is there 6 people?
yeah, we'll just have to go visit them.
They're on to their
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that was awesome. Okay, we are ready for the consent agenda.
Madam President, I move we approve the consent agenda. With the items listed.
For a second,
I'll second.
any discussion?
I did have a question about the Tyler Technologies agreement. Did that go by Jennifer? Did she look over that?
I'm not sure.
On that one, I'm gonna say that did not, that I'm aware of. So Jason then or Roxy's been out of the loop for a little bit, so I'm gonna say no, that she did not. So I can pull that off and then run it by her, and I apologize for that for sure, but no. I think that's pretty common contract, so I did not send that to her, so I apologize for that.
Is it precedent that we send all the contracts through Jennifer, or they're more common ones? I don't have any. I'm looking at the two newest people.
Yeah.
Not newest anymore. Yeah, why don't we pull that off?
Okay,
Just
absolutely.
to double check on that.
So just amend your motion.
So let's amend the motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of 5C.
For a second? I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed. We will move on to discussion items and our board goals update, plant facilities.
Good evening. I'm Shane Furrow, Director of Plant Facilities here, USD-457. And I've been asked by Dr. Dominguez to come and present to you kind of our building storage needs and how we came about. Let's see, how do I project?
It's already up there.
Good, okay, there we go. How we came to the conclusion that we needed a storage facility out at our service center. So I started here in mid-June of this year. If you didn't know, and our supervisor warehouse has been with the district for 40 some years. And as far as back as he can remember, we've been pulling furniture out of the various buildings every summer, at the end of the school year, and then again when teachers come back in the fall, we pull it out of the buildings, we store it somewhere, and then we go to a public auction where we get rid of the furniture. So in doing that, so to back up just a few years, and again, I'm harvesting some back data here. So in 2018, the district owned an old building called Furniture World. It was located at 1401 Buffalo Jones Avenue. So at that time, we were using that building along with JD Adams. There's a shop building now that's now, I think, for they're using for automotive mechanic. Back in 2018, we were using both of those facilities to store the furniture and then stage it for the auctions. Back in 2017-18, there was an audit done by an agency. I don't know if it was a state agency, but an agency that came in and said that they recommended that we sell the Furniture World building. And that was done, I assume, at the end of the 2018 timeframe. In 2020, Garden City Achieve added the automotive classes to the storage portion of JD Adams that we were using. At this point, both of our storage facilities or staging facilities for our furniture were no longer available to us. So jumping ahead, summer 2021, without any storage options available to us, my understanding is the furniture that was removed from the buildings were all staged at the north end of plant facilities, our service center location, outside, and most of that furniture then was ruined and then discarded because it was sitting out in the elements. Jumping forward to August of the same year, 2021, we were asked to bring out 6 metal storage containers, the 8-foot by 40-foot version that most of you are familiar with, set on semi flatbeds. And so then when I arrived in June of this year, those 6 were sitting out there and they were full of furniture. So we started adding storage containers as we were pulling the furniture out of the buildings over the course of the summer. We are currently up to 16 metal storage containers out of our plant facilities property. And we're currently housing those until we can, and we're just now starting the process to set up an auction to sell that furniture. Current rental costs for the 16 containers is nearing $3,000 a month. And plant facilities in the year 2021-22, we spent a little over $7,300 for that physical year for those 6 storage containers. For the 16 that we currently have, we are up to $13,500 this year, and I anticipate at least 2 more months worth of the $3,000 a month until we're able to get those get the furniture sold, removed from those containers, and then get them shipped out. As I came aboard and we analyzed the costs going forward, the discussion then was had between Colleen and myself, to put together an estimated cost on what it would cost to do our own storage building, set it up so we could do our public auctions and so forth. So we came up with this design. It's 50 feet wide. It's 150 feet long. We were also asked to kind of incorporate technology. The Department of Technology does a similar type of thing, although they don't have the vastment of the needs that we do with the furniture. They have pallets of old computers or monitors that they also auction off. And so we set a space aside for technology to do that. And then also the Department of Nutrition has back in their cold storage area back here on the west end of this property, just some items that they need stored to get out of their way so they can do their normal day business. So the layout of this building, this is the south end. That's the north end. We've got it set up so we've got overhead doors at either end. Our delivery trucks will pull in, move down, offload furniture. The technology department will do the same. We'll have storage shelves. The building will be 16 foot tall. So much like what you would see like maybe in a Home Depot or Menards or with the racks. So our plan is to have the racks on the west side of the building. We'll palletize those, we'll shrink wrap the furniture enough that we can get through the school year. We'll need some ad stock to, to move in and out as the teachers need throughout the school year. But the majority of the furniture, again, will be sold at auction. So we've got a staging area set up on this side. It'll be fenced in. We'll have access for the public to come in, and as they purchase the items, they can come in and pick that stuff up. The cold or just the storage stuff for the food service is along the north end. So some of the specifics about the building, it's going to be a post frame, which means it's going to be wood posts, wood trusses with metal wall panels. We'll have a 6-inch concrete floor, 6-inch concrete approaches at both ends. A sidewalk will come around from the approach down the east side of the building and return back to the approach on the north end. We will equip the building with water, gas, and electric. Our plan is just to have an exterior water hydrant for the time being. Really no need to have, it's just really going to be cold, dry storage for us. We will stub the gas into the building. Electrical will be very minimal, just enough to do lighting, some minor power outlets, that kind of thing. And then, so anyway, it'll be equipped if we choose at some point in the future to heat or cool the building if necessary. At least the utilities are there. There is no plan for plumbing inside the building at this point. Overhead doors, I think I've already mentioned both ends of the building. And then the other drawing. Sorry. This is our facility. This is our current service center, our grounds department here. This large white rectangle is going to be the location of the new building. We've got a series of old yard sheds out here. These are all just old pallets and junk that needs to be hauled off and discarded. But the thought is we will have an access drive come around through here. We'll enter the building on the north end, come out through the south end, which ends up at a driveway kind of downstream. So in a good general location for us, we'll have our forklift and things like that continue to be stored in our warehouse building, where we can be able to access it with relatively not a whole lot of issue. So plan and usage again of the building. We'll be able to store an adequate amount of furniture for the course of the school year. However, the primary usage is going to be to store and stage furniture until we have the public auctions. We believe we'll end up with multiple auctions throughout the year, just to keep our inventory levels at a manageable level. Again, technology, we believe will be doing the same thing, moving stage materials in and out of the building, and then also setting up auctions to sell their equipment. Moving furniture and old technology to this location frees up space that is needed at other buildings for expansion of educational programs and services. Going forward, we will eliminate the monthly rental costs and the fluctuation of the rental market and go just for the one-time cost of our own building that is designed with our needs in mind. Our building design will make this very labor-intensive process more efficient. Executing this project will allow us to serve our staff, taxpayers, students in a more resourceful manner. Is there any questions?
What does typically one of the options revenue? Or
Um,
A year.
I don't know. I haven't been through one yet, so I'm really, I couldn't tell you. I can look up some old information and get that back to you though.
Yeah, I would, that was my question.
Okay.
What revenue do we make annually from auctions?
I'm assuming it's an online auction.
Yes, actually, Purple Wave is what they've used in the past. And we're in the process of getting things set up through them right now.
Do we schedule those just like manually, or are they just as needed when the place fills up?
Just as needed. We kind of waited here until we got everything out of the school that we thought we needed out. And then, yeah, we're starting to set up those auctions now. I think also included, we were selling some buses and some other things equipment that's being stored out at our service center currently.
And the amount of return that we receive through Purple Wave versus holding and staging our own, I would assume we'd have a greater return on investment if we did do our own instead of going through Purple Wave. So we're kind of exploring some of those options too.
Are there other districts that do that
Hold their own?
Yeah.
Yes.
and do these auctions? And what kind of revenue? Could you find out what kind of revenue they get from that?
And Purple Wave, they charge the buyer the fee, right? They don't charge the school district.
I thought that they took a percentage of ours, do they not?
I would assume it's a percentage of ours, but I'd have to ask that question.
Do we have enough room? Because you said a couple times that this isn't for long-term storage of things that we need in the district. This is for short-term staging is what you're calling it, to sell things. Do we have enough storage currently for the long-term storage that we need?
The area on the west side where we had the storage racks, we were gonna hold, that'll be able to hold enough that we can have enough for, some elementary school, middle school, intermediate, high school. So as far as long-term storage, we don't keep it that long. Just enough for needs during the school year, but to my knowledge, every year we're bringing out this much furniture from all the buildings, so. So I guess long-term storage,
So how long do you typically hold? Like, how long are we holding? Like, what is in these 16 storage facilities right now? It's all furniture that needs to be sold.
that's correct.
Okay.
It's desks, chairs, it's teachers' desks, it's bookshelves, file cabinets, everything that you see in a school building.
And then how long do we typically keep it? Like, what's the term?
I would, again, this is my first year, so I can't speak to how long they've kept it in the past. But I think we're gonna keep enough throughout the school year that we're not short if we need some. But really it's just staging, just to be sold.
Could you maybe look in past data and find that out? They may not have record of that either, but I'd be curious to know how long.
How long they hold it?
Like, how long is the turnover for? I'm just curious if they went from 6 to 16. And was that because COVID, just like, why such a dramatic increase?
I asked our guys the same thing. And their answer is this is not abnormal. I think the damaged furniture from 2001, had we had storage containers for it, that would have probably made up the difference of the 6 to 16. So they added 6 the end of 2021 to put the stuff that came in and out of the schools when school got started. And then as we got into the 2022 summer, then we started just adding storage containers as furniture came out of the building. So I think the 16, from my understanding from our guys that's been here for a long time, that's the normal.
Is all this furniture that's coming out, which is furniture desks, chairs that's being replaced, upgraded, and this is the old stuff coming out?
That's my understanding. I really can't speak to why the schools are getting rid of it. We're just the middle guy that's pulling it out and staging it.
So prior to this though, too, we, Shane's, staff took pictures of everything in those Connex boxes. And we created a group folder and then sent those out to the principals to look at and then also go out and pick out things that they need for their schools before we put it on Purple Wave. And we've talked about also updating kind of the process that we use from the buildings out to there of if you have some good quality things that you don't need in your building, we're sending those out to, and a lot of the head custodians are already doing this, so you're sending it out to the other schools. Does anybody else need these items before they go out to the storage facility at plant facilities to then go into auction? So that we are also being responsible with the items that we're taking out of the schools. We're not taking good quality desks and chairs and things that can still be utilized elsewhere.
So all this furniture is damaged?
Some is damaged, but others are in.
The stuff that's in the storage containers is good usable stuff. The stuff that comes out broken, we toss.
Okay, so then that would mean that there was upgrades.
Yeah, that's.
Is there a lifespan that the schools put on desks, chairs and stuff like that? Or is it up to each facility to decide when a desk or a chair or a filing cabinet is end of use?
I haven't found good documentation on an actual like inventory policy, but that's something that we want to do with this process is get that into place and kind of have a procedure of how we are offloading these items to.
And I'm assuming we'll get cost estimates of all this stuff at some point
Cost estimates on,
building.
There'll be
Oh,
a-
yes.
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah.
There'll be a
I didn't see it
full
this
bid.
time, but okay, so, okay, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
We're looking for the board's approval prior to going out to bid, to make sure that you all are in support and in agreement of this building.
What are you estimating it at?
My initial estimate was 350,000. And again, that's really just kind of bare bones and no heat, no cool, just a cold storage building.
What would be the cost when you're doing your analysis of purchasing the 16 shipping containers opposed to renting them?
I didn't look into the cost of purchasing the containers.
Yeah, maybe they have like a lease to purchase kind of deal or something.
Are you guys looking for us to make a motion tonight?
Well, it kind of sounds like there's enough questions that gonna have to come back.
Okay.
Well, this was more just first read to see, I mean, what is our appetite? And then also if we just want to buy 16 containers and I mean, but we still need to stage and sell some of them items. If it's just through the same process we've always done, that's fine too. But this is just to see if this is where we're at as far as try to get a permanent solution and get a bigger building and just get it all done in one thing. So it's just an option.
Is this furniture process something that's always going to be happening? I mean, is this just or is this kind of an issue that we have on hand right now? Are you planning on this building being repurposed for something or building it so that it could be repurposed? Or is this kind of, you feel like this need's always going to exist and this is what this building is?
The folks that have been in the fire department for 40 years has done this ever since they've been there. So I don't see the building being repurposed at all.
I think with the amount of buildings and inventory that we just carry in all of our schools, we're gonna have this need until the end of time, just with the amount of stuff that we do acquire and then need to offload because it is damaged or not in good enough shape or needs to be updated or those types of things.
But it seems like you're working on a process too, to make sure we're not just putting stuff in storage and then buying somebody else in another buildings buying the same thing we already have.
Absolutely.
We've done that.
And so what happens to items that don't get sold? I'm assuming if you work through a third party, they deal with it, but no, they don't.
With
It's
Purple Wave, all the items stay on our grounds until it sells, correct? And then they come and pick it up.
That was kind of that whole staging area on one side of the building where we could stage it for the public to come in and access and pick it up. That was why we,
So if you ever have things that don't sell, what happens to those things? You
That's
just
a good
keep
question.
trying and trying and trying, or you get rid of them after a certain amount of time?
yeah, I mean,
I would guess that it would just be disposed of if it's.
I think
Yeah.
usually it was just disposed of after it's been on Purple Waves for a certain amount of time that it got thrown away. And I think we'll have better luck if we did our own auction. I know it's successful for the county as well. So if we did hold our own auction, then we'd probably have a more successful go at it.
Do you think we have enough buyers locally for that amount of volume?
Yes.
Good.
If you open up to the public though with that, wouldn't you have to have a restroom and everything?
we have restrooms in our service center, which is adjacent
just
to,
right
if we need that, but my understanding, most of it will be sold online. They'll just be picking up at our facility.
So I would just be curious about that. So we've asked the time and turnover, what the process is, how long we keep things, and what happens when they're not sold. So just what the current processes are would be valuable.
As far as the project, like, I'm interested in the project, just getting a little further down the road, having a few more of the cost, a few more of the questions answered, I guess. So, I mean, the idea of putting a building there is a fine idea if it's purposeful and useful. So if we can get some questions answered on, bring back next time on.
Yep. And I don't know if we kind of mentioned it too. So like Garden City Achieve has previously been a lot of the storage site too. And with the expansion of some of the programs and services there, it's also kind of making that need of, we need to shuffle things from there to other locations to start this process, but we want to have a cleaner process going forward. Sure.
Thank you for your presentation.
Welcome to the board.
Yeah.
Thank
For the meeting.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, right.
Like, wait a second.
Okay, next up, we have middle school forensics and debate. Mr. Tidwell.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to ask you to consider adding a permanent version of middle school debate and forensics, both at KH and at Horace Good. This has been a little bit of a 2-year process. We started a year ago with some grant monies and weren't really able to get that started until the spring. So let me just kind of run through. I'm going to try to run through this PowerPoint efficiently for you. I don't want to keep you here all night. But middle school debate and forensics, at least initially, the background that's not on the slide is that this is growing around the state in pockets. It's growing in Wichita. It's growing in Kansas City, Topeka area. It is growing in oddly to me, it's growing in smaller schools around us. Full disclosure is that Andrew, we at Horace Good talked to the WAC middle school folks, and they are not, as a conference, in a hurry to do this. But we're a 6A school, and it would be a feeder program for our high school debate forensics program. We think that would start initially this year based on some conversations with some other coaches with student congressional debate. So it literally is practice Congress where they debate legislation. Possibly some other forms of debate over the next couple of years. Forensics this year would probably consist of oral interpretation of poetry and prose, some informative speaking, maybe some impromptu speaking. We're going to do kind of simplified, smaller versions of some of the high school events. There are a group of coaches that I've kind of found myself in that have agreed on about four events to start with. And we're going to try to consistently create some opportunities for kids to compete that way. Any questions about any of the event kinds of things? I know that's all kind of weird and foreign unless you're in the middle of that world. So why do we need it? Like I said, it's growing in pockets around the state. Programs that are already in progress or are being added that already exist or are being added are places like Lansing, Wichita Metro, KC Metro. Manhattan is trying to get in process, Kinsley, Mays. We had some competition from Deerfield and Cimarron and Lakin last year at the one event that we hosted. And so Dodge is trying. They're trying. I want to be careful. There are some other schools that are beginning to consider it as we go. And I kind of think that this is a ground level, field of dreams. If we build it, they'll come sort of thing. I think it will create increasing high school competitiveness. There's a reason that our music folks want middle school programs. There's a reason that our theater programs want middle school programs. There's a reason that Coach Hill wants good middle school football programs, right? And so that's true for me as well, my programs as well. So we create a feeder program. I think it's worth noting that within this slide says within 2, but I think as early as next year, our kids will be competing against kids who had introductions already at the middle school level from other places. That's going to have an impact on our ability over time to compete. So talking to Mr. Hill and Mr. Lee in the middle schools, and both principals, when we started this conversation with them a year or so ago, they're kind of always in a mode where they're looking for something for kids to do after school. And in particular, that's not, we have lots of athletic things, right? And this is another, in terms of non-athletic things, we have robotics, we have baseball, is that a scholars bowl? And so there are a few things, but there aren't certainly as many things. We have kids at both Horace Good and at KH who are interested in competing. There are more kids at Horace Good who seem interested than at KH. That was true a year ago, but I think that has something to do with the difference in building population, right, size. I think it would serve a middle school population of kids who need something to do. We can talk all we want about wanting to get every kid involved in some kind of sport, but some kids are not sports kids. They're just not. It would be great, I think, to provide some debate and forensics experiences before high school. Also, I think that there's a level of teaching them some communication and advocacy skills that when we talk to employers around the community, we hear a lot about those kind of like soft skill things. And what can we do to teach those soft skill things? And these activities absolutely do that. In addition, with the focus that we've had this year on textual engagement and literacy focuses, interpretation kids are engaging with literature and pulling out emotional content, learning to interpret that and express it. The kids who are involved in debate and argumentative processes are looking at text, evaluating the quality of text, learning to create arguments. At the high school level, my understanding is over the next couple of years, the social studies curriculum, the social studies state tests are going to be heavily based on what they're calling CER, which is claim, evidence, reasoning. It's debate, argument. And so the more we can get kids engaged in those kinds of like making and understanding and responding to arguments, I think the better. And then I just, maybe this is just a pride thing. We're starting to see this happen around the state. And I've been at this 29 years as a coach, and I'd just like to see us be a leader. I just think it's a good opportunity for us to be a leader. What does it look like in terms of making this happen? We would need a coach at each middle school. We have a commitment from a person who would be involved in each building. Valerie Terrazas is at KH, and she did this for us last year there. One of my former forensic students works at Garden City Achieve as a para, and she's very interested. Delaney Despain is interested in coaching at Forest Good, and so she's right there. She'd come over right after school. We think that we would use a lot of the same rules that we're using at the high school level, at least initially, because Keisha is not involved with this yet. I say yet because my experience with Keisha is that if something starts to grow, they find a way to be involved, and over time we probably want that. So we would limit them to about 7 competitions a year total. That would be across the year. We would combine the 2 seasons at first, since there will only be about 4 events. And we're looking at students being able to compete in a couple, 2, 3 events per tournament. And we would want to, and I as the person sort of driving this, I would want to see the kids try to learn to compete in some multiple disciplinary things, just to see them try some debate activity, try some forensic speaking or interpretive activity. We think tournaments will be 3 or 4 rounds, maybe 2 rounds in a final or 3 rounds in a final. Again, this year we're going to limit to congressional debate, impromptu speaking, oral interp, either prose or poetry, and then we're talking about maybe adding like an expository informative speech. We're hoping to get this started maybe late January, early February this year, if we're looking for approval to make this a permanent program. We know that there will be some in-person and some virtual competition this year. One of the other organizations I'm part of has already committed to make sure that there are 7 virtual tournaments across the course of the spring season this year that include middle school divisions. We would host at least 1 middle school tournament in conjunction with our high school forensics tournament. We might be willing to, we probably would be willing to host like a dual Forest Good KH, and the upside of this is that there's some involvement from the high school kids acting as judges for those middle school events. And so there's some leadership involvement there as well. There are long-term, maybe some postseason possibilities. We're looking at maybe creating sort of a Kansas middle school tournament of champions late in the spring. Over time, the National Speech and Debate Association that we compete in at the high school level every year has a national middle school tournament. And so maybe a long-term goal is that, although, you know, those are things that we're looking at growth down. We did this last spring. We got a partnership grant from Ad Astra Debate. They provided a stipend that we paid to 1 coach at each building last year. Offered training and mentorship for coaches, which in our case meant me. And they provided a startup budget for each school. We spent the stipend money last year because we paid those people. There was $500 that went to each school for budget startup money. None of that got spent last year. Colleen, is that right?
I'm sorry.
The $500 from last year for each building, they didn't access that at all.
No.
And so those are sitting in accounts that are board level accounts waiting for them to access for startup. So we would be asking for some budget each year, but that would give them a place to dive in and start up. We also have a partnership with National Speech and Debate Association. Last year, they provided some coach and school memberships. They provided a school resource package, which includes coach training and access to lots of research and organization, just training for kids and coaches. I talked to them today. They're going to extend that to us for one more year if you approve these programs. So school memberships, 5 student memberships, resource package. The resource package cost me $199 a year at the high school. And they're going to provide that to those middle schools again for free. So we also last year, I think it was fairly successful based on the timeline. We didn't even get the coaches on board until late February, early March last year. They started meeting with kids actually right before spring break. We had one tournament competition here in early April. Both of them had coaches and kids participating. KH had 6 students who actually competed, or 4 students who competed. They had 6 who participated the whole time. And they did a showcase at the end for parents. Horace Good had 15 students participating, 10 of them competed, and they did some kind of culminating activity at the school, but that coach didn't let me know. She's done with us now doing this. So both schools checked this fall and there is some interest. Again, I think that interest it's like any of these other activities. It's going to be dependent on the person driving the thing and having it available, right? We think that this is a cost estimate that makes some sense. We're asking for $200 worth of annual budget. That would be $100 per school per year. And that would be primarily for tournament entry fees. If there are fees, that would be for some materials in terms of buying literature or other things that they might need. Coaching salaries, after talking with Brad and Andrew and Drew, we're looking at that at like an S2. The amount that I have up there is the entry level S2. So obviously that depends on years of experience and years with the district. Transportation, I had no idea how to estimate this. So I called transportation and got a price and made a guess at some mileage. That would get both schools to more tournaments than we would probably do, especially in conjunction with anything virtual. So we're looking at a total to establish debate and forensics at both middle schools of about $3,500 annually. So, and Brad and Andrew were very happy to have me do the talking tonight instead of either one of them trying to talk about middle school debate or forensics. So, but Brad's here tonight to let you know that they are on board. Andrew is at a basketball game. So so the recommendation we're asking for is for the board to approve the creation of a permanent middle school and middle school debate and forensics program with kind of those parameters. So come at me. I'm ready.
Is your coaching salary combined or is that per coach?
That's per coach. So I might have done the math badly there, Mr. Weezy. I don't think I'd be good at that.
That's all right. Yeah.
I'll make an adjustment to that and send it back to Glenda. I don't know what an S2 is. Is that what an S2 is, colleague?
Like the supplemental,
Yeah.
I'd have to pull up the negotiated agreement.
I don't remember if that's one or both, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm really excited that you brought this to the board and you have run such a great program and had great success. And I love to see that, you're not slowing down, you're wanting to expand.
I want something to be left when I'm done.
Well, I think you're the person to get this going and I really appreciate that. So many of your points were good points, but particularly, I think this could really benefit young people getting started with some of those communication skills that, like you said, I haven't talked to a person that hasn't commented on young people and, struggling with communication skills. So I think the sooner the better for some of these kiddos that, that happened to them at a young age, some of that experience. So yeah, you had me at hello pretty much.
Thank you.
So, thank
Appreciate that. That's one.
I also think that it's a great thing. As much as I love sports, my kids are not talented in sports. And
I'm a speech teacher who had a wrestler, so I get the like, weirdness of it.
I like that it's another option to, because that middle school age is kind of an important age where they try to find
It's a really
what their interest is and their.
Yeah.
So.
Good to me, it just makes natural sense. When you were speaking of, your sports teams, obviously in middle school to get prepared for high school and prepared for high school. I think that adds value to our high school program to allow us to compete even better.
Would there be any thought of mentoring some of the high school kids, mentoring some of the middle school?
Yeah, that's absolutely. I hope that after we get the program sort of established and the coaches at those two buildings are ready, and if Brett and Andrew are comfortable with it, that I can take some third and fourth year kids that I am sure can do it responsibly and use it as a high school kid could be, to go over and help mentor and help work with those that kind of be, create sort of some built-in assistant coaches. I also think that will make my kids better. There's something to be said for no matter how many times I tell a student you're doing this, you're not doing this, when they see another student do or not do it, then it tends to sort of click. So there's no doubt that this is selfish in a lot of ways.
Somebody at this meeting table.
Your passion is obvious and I think it's a great idea. I think it is.
I agree. I think the program at the high school is a great program, tremendous benefits to students and giving middle schoolers the opportunity to give that a try in middle school and start with that. That age is great. So are you overseeing that program?
I'm going to make sure that the coaches are trained. I'm going to make sure that they have a plan. I'm going to try really hard to continue doing a good job coaching the high school teams and hope that we create middle school programs that are effective and stand on their own. I will absolutely be there to be a resource and to troubleshoot and to help and to guide. We're going to do some specific sort of, some training things, and I'll sit down with those two coaches together and we'll talk about how to run a practice, what that looks like, what a practice looks like. Well, I'm gonna be involved, but I want to do a good enough job. This is also selfish. I want to do a good enough job training those people to run a program that I don't have to worry about those programs. Is that a fair answer? Yeah. I think that's what Brett and Andrew want too, I think they don't want to have to worry about it too. Is that fair?
Yeah, we kind of vision it kind of how robotics is. It's kind of the high school robotics takes care of robotics type of deal. Yeah. And, we help out robotics as we can and as needed. And so it would be kind of like a club. Right now, it's not sanctioned by CASIA. So it'd be similar to how robotics is run. They wouldn't practice 5 days a week or, a set season. Robotics, depending on their tournaments, practice a couple days a week. Yeah. So it would be something similar.
2 to 3 meetings a week is what we're sort of thinking about.
Piggyback on all the positives across the table here. My only complaint is you didn't do this 8 years ago when my oldest was going through.
Fair complaint.
You would have been right on that, but
It takes energy that I don't think thought I could find.
No.
Well, also, the truth is that 8 years ago, there wasn't one middle school program in the state, 4 years ago, there were 2 or 3.
I'm glad that you're realizing the need and going for it, even though it's not happening everywhere again. Great. The academic benefits are there too, and a lot of the social emotional stuff that maybe we don't always.
Coming out of COVID, social emotional was a huge part of forensics particular. I can tell you that. We spent a lot of time with that first year back.
It's cool though, because now you have virtual options too. That's kind of fun.
It did expand our world a little bit. It really did.
Yeah.
So.
So I believe from past, we can move to approve the middle school debate and forensics, and I would like to put that on the table. So we approve, middle school forensics at both middle schools.
Second that.
Any other discussion or questions?
With Russ's estimates, and then once we get clarity on the coaching, I mean, we're between $3,400 and $5,200. I think that's a very good investment in our students at both middle school, so I'm for it.
Comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep, motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have curriculum reports, communities and school.
Quickly, it looks like the amount was the two combined.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know about that.
Thanks, yes.
Good evening. I'm Kelly Stanford, Chief Program Officer with Communities and Schools of Mid-America. I'm here this evening with our CEO, Melissa Martin, who's just going to wave from the front row there. We want to thank Dr. Dominguez and Glenda LaBarbera for inviting us to present to you this evening. We have been fortunate in our organization to work in Garden City schools since 2011. And in all of that time, we've been involved in the schools here, providing our work, which is known as integrated student supports. And we just feel like it's been a tremendous partnership for our organization and also for the students here in Garden City and the school district as a whole. What I want to do tonight is give kind of an overview of what Communities and Schools is for anyone who hasn't had the chance to be familiar. Talk a little bit about what's happening here in Garden City. And then take any questions that you might have about, the program itself or the things that are happening here in Garden City. We've provided you with a folder. So in the folder, you have your copy of the slides. And then you also have this document, which is grading period 1 report. It's a report that our student support coordinator working at your high school provides at the end of each grading period to the principals to let the principals, and then you'll see a list of high school staff members there on the top right-hand corner of that report. Those are the members of what's known as the school support team that work in collaboration with the student support coordinator on the program. And every grading period, this report is provided to all of that Garden City High School staff so that everyone is aware of what the progress is on the program as we move through the school year. So I provided that to you just because I thought it may be of interest to you and to the district level leadership to see that report. It has been going to your principals every grading period for the past 11 years that we've been operating in the district. And this just kind of gives you a chance to have a look at that report as well. So I'll go ahead and get started. I want to talk a little bit about who we are. So Communities and Schools of Mid-America, we are the most comprehensive serving organization working in schools in Kansas. We are in 38 schools in Kansas across the state. And really what our work, the technical name for our work is integrated student supports. Integrated meaning embedded into the schools. And so what we do is really take the approach that there are students in the schools that have challenges in their environment or in their life situations that really make it difficult for them to show up regularly to school in the best condition they can be in order to take advantage of the education that teachers work so hard to provide. So for me, I have a background in public education myself. I was a classroom teacher for 8 years. I think of it as a let teachers teach kind of program. So all of those times when a teacher has put everything they have into lesson planning and instructional design, and they get to class and there are things happening in students' lives that aren't happening in class. that really prevent the students from being able to give everything they have to that experience. That's what Communities in Schools and Integrated Student Supports is designed to do. We will work in the school to help remove barriers for students that will allow them to be there and be able to really get the most out of what your teachers are trying to do. The model is based on really a continuous improvement cycle. So everything is needs assessment and assets assessment driven. And so I could take you down the road to Dodge City High School, where we also have a program, or back, to the eastern part of the state in Southeast Kansas, and you would see the same elements of the program, but what you see on the ground is different in every community because every community has different needs and different assets in place in the community. And I've always thought that that's one of the main strengths of the program, is that it's not as if we go from school to school and the exact same things happen everywhere we go. It really is about what is happening at Garden City High School this year, how in collaboration with that school support team of your staff, does it make the most sense to target the Communities in Schools program this school year? And when that planning is done, that way we have a program that's really attending to whole school goals that are aligned to what the school is trying to do. At the same time, we support individually 55 students on a caseload. And so that same needs assessment and assets assessment cycle is done for each of those students. Those students are referred by anyone in the school building. For high school students, they will often refer themselves, or they might refer their friend. They might know that their friend is really struggling and might benefit from being part of this program. And so they might refer that friend to the program. Everyone, all of the staff in every department in the high school can refer students to be on caseload. And when a student's referred, sometimes there's acute things happening in the student's life that need attention, and we can help with those. But often that's kind of a symptom that there may be other long-term situations happening, so that the student might really benefit from being provided individual supports throughout the school year. So the program really operates on two levels: whole school supports and then individual supports. And what you have here in the slides is kind of the technical breakdown of how we take those two levels of support and implement them in the school. Right now in Kansas, we are operating two main models of integrated student supports. What you have at Garden City High School is that core CIS model, where we have one student support coordinator who is supporting 55 students on a caseload and then providing supports to the whole school aligned to that annual school support plan that was developed in conjunction with staff from the high school. We also, in some smaller school districts, are providing a shared services model. That's where one student support coordinator may serve multiple schools. That's happening in Uniontown and Neodesha, and some very small districts where the total enrollment is smaller, but it's the same idea. And two things that we're doing this year and really exploring to build out moving into the future is to have to do with expanding the continuum of supports down into early childhood and into the post-secondary space. So we are piloting an early childhood program in Pittsburgh, where the same kinds of supports for students and families can be available to families in the birth to pre-K age range. And then we have an alumni allies program that's available for all graduates who had been part of the CIS program. When they leave high school, they can continue to be connected as they move into the next phase of their life, and can continue to receive some supports as they're moving into to education or into the career, the work world, or into the military. Our alumni allies coordinator will be there to help them build networks and have the supports they need to be successful as they move into their next phase. So what it looks like really are those three tiers of support. The other thing that happens alongside all of this is basic needs. In every school where we operate, and if you went to the high school tomorrow, you would be able to see the evidence of the basic needs operation that is in place. And this basic needs supports are available to every student in the school. So if someone is having some food insecurity in the family for whatever set of reasons, they can get some support with that. If they need clothing, something happens when they get to school and they need a different shirt for the rest of the day, They don't have school supplies. Someone doesn't have personal hygiene products. All of these things fall into basic needs, and we provide that to any student in the school that has a need. Some samples of the kinds of services you might see across the state in our programs can range, as I said, to meet the needs and the assets that are in place in different schools. We will often provide a coordination role. So everyone on your staff and at the high school has an overflowing plate. And what a student support coordinator can do is be that person that can help be a complement to the counselors, be a complement to the administrative staff, and help coordinate outside services that are coming into the school to provide specialized expertise in both small group settings or individually for students. It really is just a matter of working closely. And in a place like Garden City, where we have been for so many years, that relationship is highly developed and works very well, so that the supports can really be fine-tuned to meet the needs on the ground. In Garden City, we have something going on that's really unique, and I guess it does have to do with the fact that we've been here for so many years. But we try to set up in every community champions that support the program, who understand what we're trying to do and support the effort to provide these kinds of supports to students and families. And as you can see here, in Garden City, we have a really robust, we're fortunate to have such a robust community champions group actively ready to support the CIS program, help with finding volunteers if that's what's going on, help with fundraising and securing funding into the future, but just a group of people who believe in what's in the need and believe in the way that our organization addresses it. And so it's not, that slide doesn't look the same everywhere, but in Garden City, it's just a really involved community, and we're fortunate to be in partnership with all of these folks. So our impact here in Garden City, last school year, you'll see on this slide, the top row of data are really outputs. And you can see there, just to give you an idea of the kinds of things that are happening on the output level. So how many hours of individual and student supports happened last year at Garden City High School? 267 hours were provided to students at Garden City High School. And so you see a set of outputs at the top, on the top half of the slide. The bottom half of the slide are the outcomes, and those are measured annually for the students who are on caseload. So all the students on caseload have individual goals, and what we measure and hold ourselves accountable to as an organization is annually what percentage of students are meeting those goals. And so what you see there is what happened last year in our program at Garden City High School. And it's a really strong performance across the board. Like everyone involved in education, the pandemic was a challenge, but what we've been really proud to see is that our performance in our programs has stayed really within the ranges that we had prior to the pandemic. Our student support coordinators were able to change how they supported families and students and really kind of step up to meet those needs. And last year being the first year we were all coming out of that, we were anxious to see how we would be able to perform, and we were happy to see that the performance has been within kind of the expected ranges that we had prior to the pandemic. This slide tells you kind of over our whole network. So we are in 70 schools in 4 states, primarily in Kansas. As I said, we're in 38 schools here, but we also operate in Missouri and Oklahoma with a small presence in Iowa as well. And so you get a sense of the scope of all of the work that we did across that region last school year. And you can sort of see where the Garden City outcomes kind of measure against our whole network, and that we have performance that is really within that same kind of range, and that we're really proud of the strength of that performance. The one thing I wanted to make sure I point out to you tonight is that our current student support coordinator is Sabrina Maldonado, and she has been in place. This is her 2nd school year. And recently, I'm sure you already knew this, but the attendance challenge is something that our student support coordinator here and at Dodge City work together to coordinate. And this year, Garden City brought it. And so the trophy came back to Garden City, and Garden City High School won the attendance challenge. It's important because attendance is the focus for the school-wide focus for the program for this year. And it's just an example of one way that the student support coordinator really works with the school staff to support the goals of the school.
The other thing I wanted to say about Ms. Maldonado is that having her on staff, when we had the chance to, we needed to replace staff after we had a staff person who had been here for many years. There was a need and a desire to try to find someone who was bilingual to fill that position. And we were fortunate enough to be able to do that. And her ability to communicate with families, Spanish-speaking families that haven't always had that opportunity in this position, is really starting to show increased levels of engagement for those students and families. And we really are excited about what she will be able to do in the position as she continues to grow and move forward. So with that, that's kind of our overview of communities and schools. We want to thank Garden City for being such a great partner. We look forward to more years of serving at the high school and the opportunity to help support your students and families in any ways that we can.
I actually was a mentor for a group of girls through CIS, a relationship built with Mr. Ayers.
Yes.
And so I still maintain contact with several of those girls. And I know that particularly came to mind when you said like the programs are individualized, because it's the relationships that are built like with your coordinator or different things that they're able to bring in at the time, Mr. Ayers needed somebody maybe to work with the girls.
Right.
And so that was a real lesson. So I love that there's flexibility. It's not a set program. It's based on the needs of any given year and the resources that you may have. So just having been a part of that for a little while, I of course love what you guys do, and I'm grateful that you guys are here. So
yeah, I mean, if you or anyone you know is interested in volunteering in any way, of course, I would, I shouldn't step away from people listening to me, but without saying, let us know. We will find a way for people to be engaged, but it doesn't happen if we don't have a strong partnership with school leadership. So we are very fortunate to have that with you all. And we, thank you so much for all of that and the opportunity to share it with you tonight.
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for being here.
Hard to see, but I think you should all have a copy of it in front of you. In an effort to keep our goal to update as many of our board policies as possible that need it, I brought 3 tonight. The first one is truancy, and you can see the block of red here in the middle of this policy. This is to add new language to address those who the truancy laws do not apply for, essentially. So it doesn't apply to students who have already attained a high school diploma. Some of it you think, don't we know that? But somewhere along the line, there's been a case or a situation where our legislators have felt like we need to clarify some things. Also, if somebody's in the GED program, it doesn't apply. If they attend a private school that is licensed, it does not apply. If they're an exceptional child and they are in a program that goes on a non-diploma type program, there are some schools that do that. Our students do get a diploma, so they get the same diploma as everybody else, but there have been schools that don't do that. So just a list of situations there. It does also talk about the fact that the parents need to provide written consent for dropout, which we already do. And then it says that they could be exempt if the courts so order that. So some things that I think are just more clarifying type issues, but some new language nonetheless on truancy. Any questions for that one?
Questions? Throw it again.
Just the first read, correct?
It's the first read. The second one is an enrollment policy. Again, there are a few changes in here. The main part is on the second page. And this would allow students to enroll part-time. So this could be your student that is homeschooled and taking some online classes through another agency, and they want to come for our orchestra, for example, or a PE class, so that, they attend 2 or 3 classes and they can play our sports with, at the secondary level. Particularly, we see that a lot. And then one of the things that it does stipulate in here is that we'll make a good faith attempt to accommodate those scheduling requests, but we cannot guarantee that. So it's up to our master schedule where their classes will fit in. We don't bend our schedule to fit their needs. We'll say, well, this is when it's offered, so you can come up during these times, kinds of things. So there is a third paragraph there where you can see the highlighted area, and they are recommending that districts give a date for part-time students to enroll by. So a lot of schools, for example, put the September 20th count date here. So they have to enroll by September 20th in order to attend part-time with us. So that would be my recommendation, probably. It also talks about identifying kids for McKinney-Vento and working with DCF. And then the very last page has added the new foster care law in there, where we work with kids to help them maintain their home residence school, if at all possible. Okay. And the last one is the website policy. As you see in the middle, there is one block of red where the KSB is recommending changes. And with all of these policies, the KSB attorneys have given us their recommendations. And then we've sent them on to Jennifer to look at them as well. And she's also approved them. A couple of them, she tweaked some wording, but she's also seen all of these. So this one, again, adds requirements from legislative action. So we have to have our budget, the needs assessment, other state documentation, board's policy for that part-time enrollment student. All of those have to be on our website. Again, questionnaires, surveys, non-academic tests, all of those new laws that have come in this last year. This will update that and just specify that those will be on our website. Any other questions? Any questions, I guess? I'm
Pretty straight.
I'm going right through this, so.
And if we come up with some, we can just.
Otherwise, they'll be on the consent agenda next time. And I'll bring some more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Student internships.
Good evening. I'm very excited to bring to you another creative idea. I want to thank Darlene Lucas and Afton Huck. They're the ones that are working in our HR department that kind of created this or kind of thought about it. So, we're looking at the LIFT student interns for our district, and LIFT actually stands for Lead, Inspire, Fulfill, and Transform. And so I've been to a couple of meetings with the chamber and then with Steve Norby, and we're reaching out to businesses trying to get our students involved in all kinds of businesses in our community. And so as I was talking to Darlene about this, and she was like, well, hey, we're the largest employer here in Garden City. Why don't we look at trying to incorporate some of kind of practice what we're preaching here and try to get some of our seniors involved at our district. And so I thought, hey, that's a pretty good idea. So anyway, so that's why we're bringing this to you. We vetted it. We talked to our elementary principals just to first see if they would be even interested in having some seniors come on their campus to kind of help with reading, help with math facts, help with any type of tutorials, helping on with our, maybe some of our special education kids, with one-on-one, helping in their learning centers and stuff like that. And so, elementary principals were very excited about that opportunity. So my next step was I went to the high school and I said, asked Mr. Norby if he would ask the students, hey, if the district was and the school board was to approve something like this, would y'all be interested in it, in any type of intern programs? And so we have a list about 27 kids here that just with our little, I don't know, it's like Mr. Norby did a great job as far as kind of talking through what we're looking for and so forth with the kids. And so we had about 27 kids afterwards come in and sign up and stuff like that. And we had a couple of handful of students who were just asking all kinds of questions about, how would we work with their schedules, this and that type of deal. So really excited about, the possibilities there with our seniors. Let's see what else I was going to tell you. And hopefully, the bottom line is that this will help develop a desire and an interest in our education field, because we're talking about growing our own. So really, how can we grow our own if we just start with our seniors? And so I gave you a little bit, and I did vet this through Jennifer Cunningham and make sure that she read through because we have a little agreement that we want the kids to sign, making sure that they understand that this basically it is a job, it's an internship, and so we would pay you for the number of hours that you come in and you work in our schools. And so there's some requirements that we're wanting the kids to be, make sure that they maintain a minimum of a 2.25 GPA, and that, they're just, that they just kind of follow the rules, that we have these guidelines. We do put there that we're looking at paying them about $10 an hour. We anticipate them working anywhere from, 15, maybe to 20 hours a week. We don't think they're going to have a lot of time. This is not going to be a full-time job for them at all, because they're still taking their classes. And so, this is just a pilot program. But what we're looking at is the seniors, from what I've heard and spoken with Mr. Norby and the counselors, we have seniors that basically go to school till about 11 o'clock, and then they're done for the spring semester. And so some of those kids, at noon they go and they work for Dillon's, or they go work for, Home Depot or just wherever else. But we also have some of these kids that they finish early, but they have to be back on campus by 4 o'clock, because they're baseball players or they're softball players, and they have to practice. But so part of the logistics is they have to be enrolled in 5 classes, but then they have to be back in time to practice their sports. So that's what we're looking at hitting, is we're looking at those students that will have a couple of hours in their day to come in and work with our elementary students, to read with them, to, like I said, do math facts and so forth like that, but actually hiring them to do that. And hopefully developing a love for education, and hopefully the desire to enter our field. So that's what this intern program is all about. The reason why I'm bringing it to you is because basically we would have to have approval. I'm anticipating maybe to open up about 20 to maybe 30 positions that will be called student interns. And of course, the number of hours would vary according to each individual student and their schedules. But it would be in that expense to the district, because we'd be paying them for their services.
Who would make the schedules for them, or monitor their schedules? Would the principal from the school they're at do that, or would that be someone else?
It'll be the principal. Well, basically what we have to do, we're going to tell the students we have to have a commitment. So it's going to be something where, of course, now we understand they're kids too, so we're going to work around their schedule. But like let's say you play baseball and you know that, hey, I'm going to be able to be here from 12 to 2 every day, except for Friday when we go play baseball or whatever. So the principal and the cooperating teacher will know that student is coming in for those 2 hours this day. And it's going to vary according to student and according to classroom placement. But it'll basically be the principal will know that student is going to be there. And so we'll make sure that, and so we're going to have pretty much 25 different meetings or 30 different meetings, how many kids are going to be involved, to make sure that the kids are committed to understand that, okay, we're expecting you to be here from this time to that time. And, you clock in and you do what we ask you to do, and you're working for us basically.
So
Go ahead.
So they're just assigned to the elementary, let's say, to the school. They're not assigned to a particular teacher.
Right, it's gonna be, like I said, it's a pilot. So I'm thinking that like, you might need them, to read with your students on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Jennifer might need them to read with her students on Tuesday, Thursday, or something like that. But that would be a communication that's done on campus, and you would know when that student's coming in to work with that group.
And then who would be in charge of like the training or, the timesheets, I'm assuming get taken to HR here?
That'd be turned, it's just like a regular, I mean, whenever somebody comes in and works for us, I mean, because they're gonna be employed for the district, they turn into the office at the end of the week, here's my timesheet, or basically we're looking at doing the time clock. So they'll clock in, they'll have an ID that they can clock in and clock out type of thing. So, and then those will immediately just be submitted. Campus principal will get it, verify the time, and then submit it to business office to get paid.
And then who does the training?
Well, and that's a good, we've had a couple of principals that said, hey, listen, we will set aside, an hour a week or to basically help these students understand, confidentiality, how to work one-on-one with the student, kind of expectations and what is what's expected at each campus.
And that's prior to them going in?
Yeah, I would say, I would say it's prior to, but it's also an ongoing deal. If there's anything that maybe a campus principal sees that, hey, there's a weakness here or whatever, either that campus principal can address it, or they can let us know, and we can make sure that the principals address that at the next, group meeting and so forth, next group training.
And so is that mandatory training that they would do?
Well, it'll be mandatory because we're paying you. I mean, it's just like if you're a paraprofessional, I want you to go get special education training. It's set aside this time and you're gonna go do that. So yeah, I mean, we'd make sure that they go and get the training.
I have a question. Since these students would be working with minors, would they be subject to a background check?
Yes. Yeah, we would do the fingerprinting. It would do the same onboarding that we would do with a regular application, fingerprinting and stuff like that we would do with a regular employee. And if they're under 17, we're going to have a parent sign off as well. That's one thing that Jennifer said, that because of a minor at 17 years can't really sign an agreement on their own. So we're going to have a parent sign off on that as well.
Have you visited with her about the liability or any of the legal limitations we have versus because we're paying them versus if we just had them, it was part of their, like being an office aide or a classroom aide? Because we currently have that at the high school, but not at the elementary level.
Right.
What is the difference in that? Why are we, not that I want to be cheap and not pay kids for, we want it to be a job, but what's the difference in that? Why are we looking at that versus just having them, say, be it an unpaid internship or a student aide like they are at the high school?
Like receive credit hours for.
Yeah, right.
Well, because to receive credit hours, they're going to have to be a part of a class.
Right.
And so I have talked to, because we do have our classes at the high school too that do this, but it's kind of a separate deal. I mean, completely separate. Because these students wouldn't necessarily have to be in the education pathway. They'll be able to just have the time to come and do it. So. And really, we're just looking at the classroom right now. I mean, to tell you the truth, we're the largest employer in Garden City. And so, I mean, we could really use cafeteria, we can use maintenance, we can use, transportation, that there's other departments that we can actually, have kids go and intern at. But right now, we just want to focus in on the educational aspect of it. But I mean, if this is successful, maybe a few years down the road, we might look at maybe there's some that are interested in plumbing and HVAC that they can actually maybe go and intern and do some of that stuff as well. I mean, I don't know. I'm really excited. I'm glad the ladies came up with this idea. And I see that it has merit. Now, I will tell you, I'm a little apprehensive being in the education business for 31 years. But at the same time, these are kids that are ready. They're at the verge of starting to adulting. I guess that's the phrase that's out there. And so, we're still educating and helping them hopefully maybe come up with something they want to do in the future.
I guess my question piggybacks off of Jennifer a little more, because I know we are really encouraging students to do job shadowing or internships. And So are those paid, when we're working with other businesses in town, are those paid internships?
That would not be, I mean, I would not be able to answer that question. That would be a Norby question or I don't know if that, I would doubt those businesses would pay them, but I don't know.
I would like to know that, because then does this detract from those others? Like, is the expectation then that other students like wanting to sign up for internships, then do they have an expectation that it's paid? And so, I mean, I guess you could just vary that, but I would wonder, or I do wonder, what it is currently, how it's set up currently. If it's just an internship and not paid, or is it because then could we try to pilot rather than, paying? Is there any student interest, like you say, if they're doing a work study or something similar where they can get class credit and maybe go try out elementary school. Hey, it's something I'm kind of interested in. I like working with kids. You know, why are we just throwing money at it initially? You know what I'm saying? Like, could we offer this opportunity to students to go out and do this as class credit, as an internship credit? Because I think internships are also credit, are they not? Like those internship classes or
They have
shadowing.
There's work studies. I mean,
learning.
is that what you're talking about? The works? I mean, the work studies, I think, are a different animal altogether because those students would be paid because they go to school and then they go work in wherever their employment is. I think on some of the internships too, is that the businesses aren't committing to what we're committing to. I mean, you know, if you're going to go look at the hospital, well, the hospital's not going to want you there every single day for 3 hours to do an internship or to see how this goes. And that's what we want. We want you to be committed to coming to our establishment every single day or whenever you commit to us and working with our kids.
Yeah, I get that it's more of a job. But I would just like to see a comparison of what exists now versus what you're offering.
So, I mean,
What's offered at the high school for internships?
It is a mix because there are work study options, there are internship options. Most of the curriculum that you approved tonight was on-site work-based learning kinds of activities. So some are paid and some are not. I think Jenny Hans could get us that information, but I do know they have both.
Right, so that's what I'm wondering, and just kind of looking at what that looks like versus what we're talking about here.
I guess I kind of am looking at this different than you guys are. I don't look at this as just another program, a part of all the other work studies and that. I'm looking at this is our competitive way in the job market to try to gain employees.
Yeah.
So I'm not comparing it the same as a work study at a farm or whatever. I'm looking at this as a way we're trying to grow our own employees.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I see that as well. I'm not saying that there's definitely not benefits to this. I'm just curious as to how others are put together and is it similar? Does it detract from those other ones? And of course, I think we brought up when we first talked about this, you know, how is it? I guess I worry because we do have paras and we do have other staff that make limited salaries, not much more than what this is. And so there is some concern there for me with that. I understand what you mean though. And I think it's great.
So what's your concern with that, Dana?
What do you mean?
Well, you said you had a concern with the discrepancy between pay of a paraprofessional and a student intern?
Not a para, other staff in the district
Okay.
that make not much more than $10
Mhm.
and offering a student comparable wages. Does that make sense?
Okay. So would you be more comfortable offering them like minimum wage at $7.25 or?
I have no idea. I don't.
Well,
know
I mean,
anything about
And
that.
I think that some of those details that I think there's a good plan here and I think it's good intentions. Just getting more of those specific details finalized out would make everybody more comfortable.
Yeah.
Moving forward with it. Does that,
no.
no? So we have a list here. I mean, we have
Okay.
basically a contract, right, that the students would sign or intent to do that.
Yeah, it's an agreement. Yeah.
Agreement, that's a good one, good way to put it.
So you said $10 an hour for 20 to 25 kids?
Right, right. I mean, that's how many have showed interest and so forth like that. Again, they're gonna be interviewed and they're gonna be, I mean, background check, everything like that. So we're not guaranteed that all 25 are gonna be quote student interns. I mean, they're gonna have to, you know,
And
and
average in
say again?
15 hours a week, 20 hours a week?
And I'm thinking, I don't think they're gonna have that, you know, I'm thinking a couple of hours a day, maybe. So let's just say 3 hours a day, so that's 15.
We're talking $37.50 a semester,
Hmm.
basically.
But it sort of gets back on what Randy's saying as far as us trying to get people into our profession. I mean, you know, I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, we have 400 graduates, I think, about 400. So right now, about 25 want to look into the education profession, which, I mean, I think that that's pretty good.
Well, some of this, they could possibly lead to fill in some positions after they graduate.
Correct. I
As
mean,
they
We do have shortages in places.
we do.
I didn't mean to come off as I was against it.
Oh, no, you didn't. I was just trying to understand. I just want to understand that. And I do understand the discrepancy between, because we do, our most of our pairs are at about 1170. And so that's kind of why we took in consideration, you know, $10. I mean, you know, we didn't want to, you know, because those pairs actually have a high school diploma and stuff like that. And some have experience, but even our baseline, they start off about 1170. So we didn't want to give our students what those pairs are making immediately. I will tell you, just to put in a little plug in, we have we're looking at a salary study, because I really feel like those para positions are not where they need to be, and we probably need to up that, but that's not going to be Dr. Accorda telling you that. That's going to be an outside agency coming in and saying, hey, we've looked at everybody in the region and so forth like that, and this is what we think as far as somebody that's qualified and does that for a living.
Are there any other school districts in Kansas or?
We're gonna be the first one, Dana. We're gonna be the leader.
We did check, nobody responded yet, but this is definitely we have mentorship, but it's definitely a mentorship. Internships attached to it, but this is more of a mentorship. We are definitely trying to grow our own with I mean, like,
be a leader.
and once again, be able to provide something for the students that they get a love for it. If they already had a love or don't have a love, or maybe have no experience in it, to have at least an opportunity to fall in love with education. So,
I did more of this when I was in Dalhart. I did it more with our kids that were going into the education. They were what was the teacher program, Dr. Dominguez? We'll just call it a teacher program, but
Teachers of America.
yeah, Teachers of America. And so pretty much, I mean, we had probably about 15 to 20 students in that class. And so every 3 days, I basically had it where they would go down to the elementary and help out at the elementary level. And either doing small group instruction, reading to the kids, doing mathematics, facts and stuff like that. But that goes back into, that was a class. And that part of the curriculum was that they were going to get experience in that class. And so this is a little bit different because any student can do this as long as they have time in their schedule. They don't have to be a part of that. And that's sometimes where we tie our hands in education is you got to be part of that pathway to be able to get that experience. And so we have kids that are in other pathways, but they still want to, let me see what that experience is like. And so that this will give them an opportunity to do that, to see.
I think this is a good idea. I would like to see if there's an option of doing it as a credit hour rather than being paid.
Mhm.
Doing it kind of like being said more as an office aide, a credit hour. Because if someone's interested in going into education and things, they'd have a counselor that kind of guide them to something like this. That would be my preference first, is to, with the contract and everything, I think it still could be some stipulations for it that in order to qualify to do it. I'd like to see it as go towards credit hour rather than paid.
Well, I just remembered too that I know there, you know, everything with the early childhood and trying to get daycare and those kinds of things. I know the community college has a few programs that they're trying to really collaborate and establish. And so that might be a collaboration too. I don't know what the high school's doing. I can't remember if there's anything that we're doing in terms of early childhood or education classes already at the high school, but I'd be curious to see exactly how Jenny Hands would handle that too, as a collaboration where, because one of those is just a certificate program that's offered there. And so I'm wondering if some of those classes that we're already collaborating, offering for free, allowing students to get that experience, if something like that would also be.
Education pathway.
Some food for thought, if I can just piggyback on what Joe has been talking about. I don't think when you look at internships, job study, work study, I don't think the idea is new. What is new is bringing them back into the schools. I think that may be new for some, but I will tell you that's how I got my start. I was doing what Jackie was talking about. I did it for credit, but drove myself to an elementary school, and as a junior and senior in high school was working in a classroom. So I think the money end of it, if our kids have an option of going over there and getting a credit hour, and I don't need it to graduate, that's why I'm already leaving at noon, versus getting $10 an hour, I might just go home and play my video game instead. So part of it may be incentive to think about. The other thing I think is, and Joe, you might want to address this a little bit, is these will be our employees if we go this direction. We're paying them, and you would be approving each one of those on the consent agenda as it came through. So they would be listed just like every other employee on the consent agenda.
Even in the case, well, yeah, if they were under 18.
Yeah, Jennifer may have to, but
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, because they would be employees of the district. They'll have them fingerprinted and all that kind of stuff and interview process, and yeah, they would be an employees.
If I might just say one thing,
This is Darlene, by the way.
I'm Dana, I appreciate all that you brought up, but I'll point back to what Mr. Ralston said. We have a human capital issue in Penny County. We do not have enough people. We have teachers begging us to find paras that we can't find because we can't find people that can work for what our salary base is right now for our paras. It's just, that is the fact. We've been everywhere. And these students that we've targeted when we met with them last week, these are students that have that little block of time. I would guess that they may do 2 hours a day, most of them, because they're going to go home and do their homework because they got to stay eligible to play sports, forensics, debate, music, whatever. They've got to be a good standing student too. So when you say do it for credit, I will go back to what Glenda said, and they're probably going to go home because we've talked to the students and said, you know, what's your driver? Well, your driver is, well, you know, if I could make a couple of bucks, a couple of hours, and can I get back and get to my game, or can I get to my practice, or can I, I'm probably in. We had about 4 young girls come up to us before we left last week when we were talking to 400 students. I was thinking, this is such a great idea. There's going to be 100 kids coming over and talking to us, and there wasn't 100 kids, but there was 20, over 20, but they don't even know what they want to do, and so it's a little bit of a job because they can't really go get a real job right now because they need to get back for practice, and a lot of businesses just aren't going to work with them on that. So that's kind of where we were at when we were thinking this would put a Band-Aid for those teachers who need students to listen to a kid read because they're behind, or a kid that needs some extra, because we're staying in those lower elementary classes, and they need their paras, their real paras, to do other things. And then this would free up time to listen to groups of kids read, to listen to groups of kids with math problems or whatever. And it may only be an hour or two, but when you put that over time of 5 days, that's something. And that's at least a Band-Aid on the problem that we're trying to solve until this wage study comes through. That's all I hope you all consider. That's why we want the pay. It's, yes, it's not very, I mean, there are those that make just a little bit more, but I guarantee you those teachers that need these kids, they just need the resource. I think they will thank each and every one of you for that opportunity to just have that kid listen to read or to have math, because there is such a need, and we can't meet it, and we can't find people. And so that's why we're reaching out to our students, and we found 25 of them that were interested. So.
Questions? And I guess,
Well, I don't really have any questions. I like the program as written. I think I think your explanation of the need and why, I mean, I think about how I got into the industry I'm in. It's had something to do with some of the work I got to do when I was in high school, and that kind of sparked my interest in it. You know, I think we have students right now that are at that age where they're trying to figure out what they want to do next. If they're going to, you know, are they going to college? If so, what are they going to study? You know, I do have, I mean, I had a little concern as you all were talking is, you know, how would some of our paras feel about a student coming in making $10 an hour if they're not making very much more than that? We certainly don't want to upset any of our paras. But if we're looking at ways to kind of reevaluate that, I know that probably most kids can go get a job anywhere in town and make $10 an hour. So, you know, they've got to look at ways to make this job attractive to them. So I think it's great. I appreciate the thought that went into it. I like it as it's been drafted.
Yeah, I agree with Andy. That's kind of where I look at this from a different picture. I'm not comparing it to an internship per se or a credit, or I'm looking at this as a strategy for grow our own employees. That's how I'm looking at it. And I agree with what Andy said exactly.
I agree. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and definitely know our teachers are struggling and need as much help as they can get. I think we've heard on multiple probably presentations that behaviors are more of an issue with students. My concern is definitely, I wish this would have been approached to see if we had student interest without offering a dollar, because when you work with kids, it's not about money. You have to really want to work with kids. And so even though I think, yeah, we might find, or you might, it's like the kids that volunteered for the coffee shop at the high school. I think some of those kids really discovered that, wow, like this is a population that I really enjoy working with. So I think that the potential is there for sure. And I understand it definitely fulfills a need. As a board member with some of the I don't want to call them issues, reservations, or maybe just questions. I really would have liked this to been approached, or at least seen how other internships are offered and seen if we had student interest without the dollar amount. That's how I would have liked it to maybe have been presented. If the rest of the board is in favor of it, I definitely see the benefits of it, but personally, I have a lot of questions, so.
I think there's good intent here. I don't know exactly what specifics or procedures. I just like to see more set in place before we say, hey, this is 100% go, just to make sure everything's covered. that protects the kids that have the jobs and everyone involved, that it has the most positive outcome.
So I'm clear on it. The student would be assigned to a specific school, and that would be where they stay, that
Correct.
principals who schedules them and everything.
Correct.
They wouldn't float from.
No.
Okay.
And again, this is a pilot program. I mean, so I understand what Jennifer is saying, you know, yeah, and it's gonna become a lot clearer once we get going. I mean, as far as what parameters we need to set, oh, that was a great idea. Oh, that was terrible. We need to modify and adjust that and, you know, but, I mean, you know, I've been in the business for 31 years. I'm a little hesitant, but I mean, I think we need to put our money where our mouth is. And I mean, these kids, if we can get even 10 of these kids that want to come back to Garden City and be paraprofessionals, we're not even talking about going to, you know, waiting 4 years for them to go to college. We're talking about some of these kids that are, hey, you know what? I want to do this. I want to graduate, take my para test, and let me start this as a career. So.
Well, I don't know what your timeline was on this. I feel like it's something that, I'm not against approving it, but, since it's new business, pushing it to another meeting in case there's any other questions that need to be answered.
Yeah.
Is there a time crunch? I mean.
Well, the only challenge with that is that, you know, you're gonna have Christmas break and then the kids are gonna come out with their schedules.
And you're wanting to start
And
this
so
spring.
I would like to be able to sit down with those 25 kids and say, hey, listen, you know, you need to fill this out. We need to give you your interview prior to the spring semester starting. So when they hit the spring, they're ready to roll and we can start those interns fresh. But, you know, I mean, that's just, I mean, if we want to push it back and start in February or whatever, the need's still going to be there for to help in our classrooms and to assist teachers and stuff like Darlene was saying. But at the same time, I mean, you know, I just want to be able to get into the kids' schedule so we can make sure that we know exactly what to expect in the spring as well.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Under the term, it says, you know, that it'll end on the last calendar day in May, upon which school is released. Can we add something into there that if a possibility of applying for a para position or a full, you know, additional position if they are in college and stuff?
Mhm.
I mean, is that,
Well, I mean, we
there
can't.
may be some that want.
Yeah, well, these were just focusing on high school seniors. I mean, you know, we have we're actually saying because we have graduates that are going to graduate in December. And so we're not even targeting those kids because those kids can come and actually work for us as parents. So this is really just a kind of a narrow group of just senior kids that's what the agreement was written for and with those in mind. But yeah, it's a definitely a workable document. We can put whatever we want to put in there. Even if we think the compensation, I mean, again, if we think that's too much and we want to go down to $7.25, $8 an hour, whatever the case may be, I mean, we can do that as well. I just want to, do something that y'all feel comfortable doing. And at the same time, like I said, I mean, we want to try and entice some of these kids to come in and choose education as a profession.
Have the principals, are they aware of this? Have you visited with them? I mean.
Yeah, I think Jess had a lot of conversations with them and they're very excited. I think, again, I wish that you could hear what we hear daily about their just dire need for those resources. Just for those kids who need that extra time to hear somebody listen to them read. I mean, if we can free up some time for them to focus and then have that resource to break out those small groups. I mean, again, it's a pilot program and I really want to emphasize that. This baby will live it probably in our office and we'll rock that through this pilot, checking on kids, checking on principals. I told Joe, I'm a kind of boss that you're going to come to work and you're not going to mess around, you're going to know exactly what the expectation is. And if you don't show up to work, in my world, you don't get to work very long. And so these kids need to understand about adulting. We go to work. If you're gonna get paid, you go to work. And so we're gonna learn about what the expectation is and how they can support these kids. And that, I think it's good. It's such a life skill, I think, opportunity for us to teach those kids that are interested about work. And commitment. And there's just so many things that they can learn in this process and to give back. And little kids look up to those high school kids. It's amazing how they connect. And I just see, they may not all be teachers, but maybe they'll see USD-457 as an employer that they want to stick with, even if it isn't in teaching. Maybe it's going to be mowing or plant facilities or clerical or whatever, but maybe they really liked how we treated them as an employer. And then they're gonna, that's how it works.
But we're having Darlene speak. Can we ask Mr. White?
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We just
Yeah.
usually don't have people speak, but Mr. White is here and he represents teachers. Would you have any opinion or thoughts?
Thank you for asking. Look, I appreciate the incentive and inventiveness here, okay? But this is not addressing the root cause. The root cause is compensation. I can't tell you how many meetings I've attended with students that come to the high school all excited to be teachers. And after they learn what the salaries are in their freshman year of high school during surveys, they change their course in their sophomore year. We have an educator rising program in place that I would love to see, if you're going to do this, take part in this internship, but the goal seems to be to target someone other than that. We already have kids that are wanting to be teachers. Let's throw some of that money at them if we're going to do this. My first question comes down to always, where's this money coming from? Every dollar you guys spend outside of compensation is money that could have been spent on compensation. And I would also submit that rash decisions are usually bad ones. I would not in one night, first time hearing about a program, adopt it. I would give myself time to consider the ramifications. That's just an opinion for what it's worth. But I do want to say, I appreciate the fact that you're thinking outside the box. I really do. Okay. So don't take this as, oh man, this is the worst idea that's come down in a long time. But when I look at pairs that are making $11.70 an hour, and we're talking about pairing high school seniors, 10, it seems to me the first solution is to take care of the para compensation. That should be job number one. And then some of these problems get solved when the compensations. Now, where that money's going to come from, I have no idea. Not sure the public's going to support that. But we got to take care of the compensation first, folks. That's job one. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Can you tell us what Educators Rising is? That is not familiar to me.
It is a national program that's supported by many organizations, including National Education Association. If you recall the last couple of public events I've done, I've invited those students along. Jeanette Turpin is right next door to me, and she is working her tail off trying to develop teachers. But I'm not kidding, I've attended 2 meetings in this year with career planning that we were just talking about earlier of sophomores that when they were freshmen, they were going to be teachers. And like I said, then they found out what teachers were paid. And we have a transition from para to teacher program, but these kids are looking at the debt that they're would be experiencing even in that program. And they're like, I can't work for para pay while I'm going through college. I can't do that. So we're losing them from their freshman, sophomore year. Kids who want to be teachers are still there. But when they do the math and they figure it out, they're like, I can't absorb $55,000 debt to start out at $42,000 a year. Come on. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take this in a negative direction, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak. This does not hurt, I don't think. I don't think the dollar amount is significant enough to be tragic, but compensation is where we need to work. That's where the focus needs to be. And I'm tired of losing kids, great kids, that would be a far better teacher than I've ever been. And we lose them simply because they figure out the dollars and cents in their freshman year. That's when we lose them. That's when it happens. Thank you. I'm sorry if I took us a direction I shouldn't have taken us.
That'll be on me.
That'll be the last time you ever asked me, right? Sorry.
Well, and honestly, you don't bring up anything that we haven't already thought of or talked about, or it's on the radar, exactly what you say.
Dr. Hoy, what percentage of our seniors are on that path where they don't have to be in school after a certain time, their second semester?
Oh, I don't know. That would be a Steve Norby or one of the counselor questions. I don't know, the kids that have really come in and taken care of business, I mean, they're gonna be your ones that are, pretty much done, but they still want to participate in other things, so they're taking some classes that they might not necessarily need the credits for, but I don't know what percentages those are. They don't have to be there for the full, spring semester, that's full time.
So the students, the 25 or so students that have expressed interest in this, what do they say? What about this is so appealing to them?
Well, I think that Darlene has actually a senior granddaughter that was just talking about, well, I can't get a job anywhere else because, she's involved in basketball now as well. And I think she's going to run track. And so she knows that, hey, I get out at 11 and pretty much nobody's going to hire me for those few hours. So, and then, then you're going to be gone. And the good thing about this job at school district, you have your weekends. So, there's not going to be happening on Saturday and Sunday. So, but they're just talking about a little gas money. Some of the young ladies that came up were kind of excited to go back to an elementary that they had gone through and maybe work with one of those elementary teachers that kind of helped them in their development, in their life. They were like, one of them came up and said, hey, my mom's losing their para, or they don't have a para. Can I go in and be a para for my mom? For a few hours a day. So there were just kind of varying kind of interest that direction.
I'm still kind of in the same place. I'm not against this. I think there's a lot of good ideas there. I just think it's a big thing to approve on a first read unless the rest of the board feels like it's so time sensitive that we need to move forward with it. Leaving that to you guys to decide that.
I would not approve it tonight, but if I had time and maybe got a little bit more feedback. I think again, it is creative. It's a good idea. I'd like to put, definitely.
What could we bring to you, Dana, that you would like to see?
Some of the things that I mentioned earlier, like I would like the information about what other internships look like. What do we have right now in terms of, student participation in those, the job shadowing program. I'd like to see what this Educators Rising now is about, and have we consulted with that teacher or that person who does that program? I hate to say like a survey, but I do worry that the pay is so similar to our staff. So I worry will people be like you say, so we want those students to think we're good employers, but will those other employees that we already have think we're bad employees if this is the solution that we're coming up with? Should this pilot program come after we reevaluate para pay? These are some of the things that are coming to mind. Just in this spur of the moment, Darlene, sometimes, it takes a while to articulate or to thoroughly think through things. And
well, Randy asked what the principals were thinking. It was kind of a couple of times brought to their attention. It was more, how many could we get? Because we do need people, but then also who would train them. So there's legitimate, ideas and concerns of who's going to do the training, what's that really going to look like. And then to your point, those individuals, Andy also and Dana, some of these students, they do have extracurricular activities that they're showing back up to later in the day. That's why this makes it appealing. So that's the true for those, that caveat of 20 some odd students. And Yeah, if they were wanting to get in Future Teachers of America or something like that, it may or may not have already been in that track. So this is not a teaching track per se, but it definitely could lead to that. And then same thing. It's still about the mentorship and internships, and that's, we go out and tell other companies to, hire our kids or give us an opportunity to mentor and intern our kids. So that was the next part of that, of trying to maybe do this. So you're right, maybe not tonight, but I think it's a good idea. The human capital component is we need pairs. We do need people to help educate our students.
And I do see the student benefit. I put my own kid in this because like students that are athletes or do after school things, they do. Who's going to hire them for a couple of hours? So I do see a lot of benefits for students. I do think it's a good idea. I do think it has a lot of potential. Those are just my my reservations. And
Would y'all recommend paying less? But it kind of goes back to what we're saying back there, that school district's cheap. Okay, so we're not gonna pay you $10 an hour, we'll pay you $8, but come work for us.
Well, and the specifics of the pay isn't, I guess, what's holding me back. It's really just giving us time to process all the information you've given us.
I just want to see kind of where's the main.
I'd like to hear from a couple principals to, see on their point, how this would actually benefit them, what they would.
How they'd utilize the student.
Yeah. I know you have, reading and assisting with math and tutoring and things, but I would hate for it to turn out to be something where we're looking for something for this student to do.
Right. And that's something that we'd already talked to principals and so forth about, that we need to make sure that their need is there. And so it's going to be unique spots as well, because, you don't, with a regular paraprofessional, you can say, hey, you're going to go monitor the cafeteria. Well, we wouldn't do that with a student intern,
Right.
So it would definitely have to be more of a capacity with, if you've been into our special education classrooms, you'll see, a lot of our students will need a one-on-one or one-on-two, just guidance, not necessarily that there's a lot of, but just kind of keeping them on task, letting them know, hey, this is the assignment we're doing, this is the computer program we're on, type of deal. Whereas if you don't have that one-on-one, then they tend not to focus on doing their assignment and so forth. So yeah, there would be different spots that the principals would need to utilize, but there would need to be specific spots for these kids.
Because I don't think, and I don't think it's intended to, but a teacher wouldn't be able to leave the classroom with the students in there.
Right. Correct.
So it would still need to be.
Correct. Well, and that was my hesitation as well, is you don't want to put more work on the teacher.
Right.
You want this to be a benefit for those teachers.
You had mentioned the pay study or whatever, is that in the works or?
Yeah, Colleen and I have gotten 5 or 6 different proposals, five different proposals. So we're looking through those and we're trying to analyze those. And the challenges that they're getting back to, those are pretty pricey. So when you're looking at that, we already know that that's a problem. So do you spend that money on the study? Do you spend that money solving the problem? But I think with an outside entity, they can give us a ballpark as far as how bad are we? Because I can tell you we're bad when you see signs out of Mickey D's is paying $15 an hour and we're at $11.70. So yeah, there's a little challenge there, or a big challenge, because when you're looking at how many employees we have, $3 an hour is going to be a pretty good chunk of change.
We can keep discussing if you have more. Our next meeting is a Thursday meeting. It's a payroll meeting, so I don't know if we will.
yeah.
According to the agenda, I didn't just remember on my own.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's like the 18th or something like that, yeah. Or 15th. So.
We wanted that one in this. I would prefer not to vote on it tonight.
Do you? I agree. I'd much rather we have an effort chance for everybody to get all their questions answered before we make a decision. one way or another. But you mentioned students that are enrolling for next semester. Are there any students in this program that are, I mean, is it of such a high urgency that there are students in this program that are not sure how they're gonna enroll next year because of this program? Or not next year, next semester.
It wouldn't affect the class schedule necessarily
No,
either,
no.
because it would be like applying for a job
So
mid-semester.
this didn't come about until, February or something. It's still an opportunity for those students.
Or even next year. I mean, if you want to start your school year off, it could even.
Well, you gotta, be careful because you have seniors that are they have a full schedule for their fall semester. So you're basically looking at this as for the spring semester because they have gaps in their scheduling. So.
I think even both could work potentially though. I know my daughter did, 2 or maybe even 3 community college courses during the fall. So I'm not saying that spring isn't the better semester because you tend to not have as many, but some of those seniors honestly only need 1 or 2 classes to graduate and they're just filling it so that way they can play sports or, whatever the case may be. And that can go both ways then if this should be credits because it could get credits too. But anyway, just
Remember to get credit, you have the junior college background. To get credits, you have to be on that pathway. So if you're not on that pathway, you're not going to get.
But there's potential for this to operate in the fall also.
Yeah, I would say there would be potential that direction. All right, any other questions?
No.
All right, appreciate you.
Okay, now that our brains are all focused on that, board open discussion. Who has the most to say? Volunteers? I will. Okay, thank you.
I missed a couple of the last few meetings, but I'm back and caught up on reading. Ready for Christmas. It's your turn.
Okay. This was an interesting, I just kind of listened tonight. I didn't share any of my feelings or my comments about this particular thing, but I do appreciate the effort. I do appreciate the hard work that went into it and just thinking outside of the box of how to fill our needs. So I do appreciate that. That's about all I got tonight. I mean, it was a lot of just business as usual tonight. I appreciate all the presentations, appreciate what you brought to us and that's it.
I don't have anything. We're winding down. I'm sure teachers and students, because everybody's winding down. So just always appreciate the effort and time that goes into anybody who presents to the board. I hope we didn't scare off the plant facility. We asked a lot of questions there too. But yeah, there's always a lot on the plate, a lot to think about. I hope that that our teachers know how much we value them and that we know they're underpaid. That's not something that we don't know and would love to solve immediately. But anyway, I appreciate all the input and time. Things just keep trucking along and I can't believe we're halfway through the school year. So I guess we need to hold on for the second half.
Either of you have anything down there?
I agree with everybody. I appreciate the ideas. I like the outside the box thinking. And I agree. We all know that pay is an issue and we want to move forward addressing that best we can. I'm proud of it seems like we just keep moving forward and that's what I like. Always new ideas and new debate for the middle schools. I think that's great. So just keep moving forward.
I don't have anything really other than what's already been said. I appreciate, Mr. Tidwell, you coming tonight and presenting debate at the middle school level. Any opportunity we can to expand educational programming, I think is fantastic. So, and I know that takes a lot of extra work and effort from staff to do that. So the willingness to do that is really appreciated. And, as we talk about opportunities to grow our community, I think the school district plays a big role in that, whether that's finding teachers for our own school district or just playing a role in helping students that go through our schools to understand there's opportunities in Southwest Kansas. So I just appreciate the outside the box thinking and just always trying to make our community grow and improve. So thank you.
Dr. Dominguez.
Yes, ma'am. As we start December, I just want to thank for all the time, energy and effort that everybody's put in. You up here at the board, but everybody in the audience and on video too. It's just been, yes, Thanksgiving's passed. I mean, we're in December. We're going to finish the semester strong. A lot of positive vibes there, a lot of work, effort put into it. And yeah, it's just a lot of thanks out to everybody because it really does take us all to stress the community, stress Western Kansas, stress Garden City, USD-457. So really just proud to be here.
Okay, our next board meeting will take place on Thursday, December 15th at 5 p.m. in the board meeting room. And we will move into our first executive session. Okay. This is. This one?
Yeah. Okay. Madam President, I move we go into executive session for 30 minutes to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to the exception for matters which would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship under KOMA beginning at 8. Can we do 25? Yeah, a couple minutes. Okay. 8:25 and the open meeting will resume at 8:50. Is that right? 8:55. Oh, that's what I meant. Dang, I got it wrong again. I would like to invite Jennifer Cunningham to join us in executive session.
For a second. Favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.